Hey folks, welcome back to another Vendor Voice. We're super excited today to be doing this particular interview with one of our amazing vendor partners here at the Elite Buy program. Remember, blue collar members, you do have privileges, and those that are watching that are not blue collar members, I'd like to introduce to you today a new vendor. But hold on, wait, this is not a sales pitch. What I want to talk to you about is true technology that's going to help build and grow your business today. We've got Shelly on with us with Conduit, and I'm just going to dive in a little bit. Before we get going and talk about the sales process. Now, this is specifically designed to enhance a sales process. Now, I'm a big believer, Shelly, that time spent in a sales process doesn't necessarily guarantee you a better sale. So when you really think about the sales process, tell me a little bit about how Conduit helps to intersect into the sales process.
Yeah, and this is a great question. I think ultimately, to your point, Chris, time on site does not necessarily convert a deal. What converts the deal is the trust that's built over the course of that time inside the home. And did you make the most of that relationship building opportunity? A rep who goes into a home has about 2 hours to make an impact on their customer, and to sort of convince them that they're going to be the right shop that's going to deliver a high quality experience. When we built Conduit, we saw that the best contractors out there were putting in a ton of work for their customers behind the scenes. So the customers weren't seeing all of the work that actually builds value. The super high quality QA process, the load calculation, the documentation of measurements for the rest of the team, the layout of the floor plan for the install teams, everything that makes the team run efficiently and effectively and deliver the right solution. Those teams were actually doing it behind the scenes. So at Conduit, our goal was how can we actually make that an engaging customer experience when that customer is a homeowner, for example? How can you make sure that you're value building using the work that you have to do anyways? And that's where Conduit came into play. So what you do is you walk through a home, you scan it to develop all the measurements. It takes about 5 minutes for 2,000 square feet. Once you scan the home using LiDAR technology, which is just in the backs of iPad Pros, so nothing too crazy, you build a custom 3D model, a 2D floor plan, and an ACCA-certified Manual J, all in about 10 minutes. That's our average project length.
Mm.
And while you're doing this, the customer is going room to room with you. It's an interactive experience. Chances are they've never seen somebody use LiDAR on their home. And with that, you're creating everything you need for your installers, everything you need to be able to quote and size that solution. And you're showing the customer rather than telling them. So you're making it a foundation of your interactive experience with that homeowner that helps build trust and show it visually rather than just telling them.
You know, it's interesting, Shelly. I'm going to shift gears. This is a little bit off subject, but some good friends of mine rave about. We've got a steakhouse here where I'm locally. It's like about an hour north of me in Tampa. It's called Burn Steakhouse. It's a family steakhouse, and it's a very, very high-end steakhouse. And it's not just the experience. And this is kind of, I think this ties in, and this is where I want all of our HVAC professionals to hear this story. Burn Steakhouse has a story that they tell, but they engage the client with that story, Shelly. And here's the crazy part. Whether you're a first time or a repeat offender at Burn Steakhouse, they will give you the tour of the kitchen while they're cooking. So all the chefs are back there making, they will take groups of people into the kitchen so that you can watch and observe. And then more importantly, they'll take you through the tour of their wine cellar and show you all their bottles of wine and everything. And for me, I was like, wow, I can see why I'm paying the price that I'm paying now. And so what you're saying is this is what Conduit does. It takes the client behind the scenes of what's really going on in the sales process in the design concept. And I'm a big fan of, most HVAC professionals, they show up and it's whatever box you got now, let's put another box just like that back in. But we know that the standards are that's not the way that it's supposed to be done. A lot of measuring and designing of it. And so the sales process, what you guys have done is you've brought the back of the house, right? You brought the back of the house to the front of the house to allow the client to be engaged. How do you feel like that really affects the conversion rates or the increases that contractors are seeing when they are using your product because they are bringing the back of the house to the front of the house?
Yeah, this is something that really matters to us, right? Because what we want to do is see folks who are doing an incredible job get paid for it. And the reality is nobody is going to get paid for doing a quote in this industry today. Unfortunately, that's so, so rare, but it's mind-boggling when you think about how much work goes into a quote. And so for us, sales conversion and ticket size are the two ways we really measure success. And we work with a number of blue collar success group partner companies, and the thing that we've heard from them is they're seeing increased conversion rates between 10 and 20%. And that is super motivating to me because not only do you get a very clear ROI within, your first job, you've already paid back the software. But on top of that, what is really motivating to us is that they're seeing the results of doing a really high quality experience for their customers. Ticket size mostly comes from the fact that what we see is people are able to quote with confidence better solutions for the homeowners. It's not just increasing the tickets to increase the tickets. It's, hey, I'm uncovering while I'm on site that your ductwork is insufficient. Your system is oversized. So I'm going to propose a slightly smaller system that with better ductwork for your home. That's going to increase your ticket. But at the same time, it's not increasing the ticket just by selling a higher SEER system. It's increasing it by actually delivering better comfort to the customer. And so for us, those are sort of the two main impacts we see on the sales efficiency, sales conversion side. And that's super motivating to us because you think about business owners want a solution that supports their team, supports handoff, but salespeople want a solution that supports their sales process. And that's what for us, we have to hit, but our goal is to hit both of those goals at the same time. Everybody wins when the team's revenue go up, but what also leads to a great win is when you see a great handoff to install teams.
Yeah, and listen, that's the sound of what it's like to get real additional sales, not because of your sales skills, but because the technical component gets brought in. Obviously I'm a big on the technical side. Like the more technically competent someone is, they can identify, hey, by the way, your system is not sized correctly, and the duct work as well. And so that's just music to my ears when I hear about doing the right thing. And the old thing, Shelly, back in the old days, we would talk about in the sales process is like, you got to measure the home, take the time to spend with the customer and build the relationship. And think about this, as a salesperson, I'm in or a selling tech, I'm measuring windows and measuring rooms and I'm doing calculations, but I'm trying to do all of that and I'm trying to math on a piece of paper at the same time. I'm trying to build a relationship. And tell me a little bit about how Conduit you feel for somebody that's hearing about Conduit for the first time. Kind of explain a little bit more if you could. I mean, obviously we can't demo it today, but we're going to give people an opportunity to give you a shout to get a good demo of Conduit. But explain to me kind of conceptually how Conduit works.
Yeah, so it all starts with you walk in the home, you're running your normal process, right? You're asking them about their comfort concerns, what brings you there today. In Conduit, you have in-app note-taking tools. You also have homeowner education modules where you can actually explain to them what it is you think might be happening or include them after the fact. So explaining, hey, when you are describing your systems turning on, running for 5 minutes, and then turning off for the rest of the hour, this is what that means. This is why it might be a little bit more humid in this home. From
Yeah.
there, it's doing that room to room walkthrough. The only difference for a contractor who is now adopting Conduit is now they're actually scanning. So they're just taking their iPad and they're lightly tilting the camera, making their way around the room. And the same process takes 5 minutes to scan a 2,000 square foot home. It's the same as you would go room to room in a regular home walkthrough. After that, because Conduit has smart defaults, because we are using computation in the background, we generate the load calculation for you. And you're done with the sizing element. Now, the other piece of it is not only did you engage the customer during your normal question and answer, your educational components, your scanning, but what we also built out in Conduit was we wanted to cover that whole in-home workflow. And so we built out equipment visualization. So what that means is showing the customer, hey, we discussed that you don't have enough airflow and you don't have enough cooling and heating capacity in this one room. Now, I'm not going to suggest, a whole new duct setup because it's really just one room. To solve that one room, here's the mini split I'm suggesting, for example. And here's exactly where we can place it. You have two options. Do either of these look better for you? This is our equipment. We offer LG. Here's what an LG unit is going to look like in this space. And you can take photos with literally a 3D visual showing what that looks like on the space. And the goal is that you're showing the customer rather than just telling them, rather than having them just trust you, you have a third party that is providing some imagery that they can start to understand. And then from there, you can mark up those photos, you can mark up floor plans in Conduit. The goal is anything that you would be doing to hand off to your install team or to show the customer what you were going to be doing, you can actually do in platform. Once you're done, you're done. You have automatically generated 5 different reports for you, one for your installers, one for your homeowner, the Manual J, an equipment selection report, and a airflow report as well. So all of those different things you can use and really optimize the right solution, optimize what you're handing off to your teams, and then optimize what you're sharing with the customer as well.
Well, listen, my friends, there's an old quote that says, "A picture's worth 1,000 words." And when I did this demo, I was absolutely blown away at the ability for it to create the 3D model of the room. And I remember, Shelly, you were like, "Hey, you want to put a mini split right here?" Boom. And it literally gives the customer the visual of, oh, that's what it's going to look like. Or, hey, we need to add an extra register or an extra return. And Conduit has the ability to put this stuff in so customers can physically see what they're doing. So think about this. This is not just a sales tool. This is a technical tool. It is an operational tool. It is so much more than just the, hey, we're going to continue to do the manual J's. Well, great news. This thing's going to do the manual J for you and so much more. Maybe tell me a little bit about what you feel like, maybe tell me a little bit of a story or two that you've got from other contractors about using your product.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few different ways this looks. I'll share one. We work with a team up in the Northeast, and for them, their salespeople were using it. They were seeing results. They were seeing their sales conversion increase, and for us, again, that's super motivating. But they actually and this is a team with hundreds of technicians. They actually just mandated Conduit as to be used across all technicians because of the impact it was having on their entire efficiency of their operations. And this is a specific use case or a specific situation that is is really cool for me to hear because of course we're motivated to support the end users, which is the sales team. But what we found was that it was providing so much support to the installers that jobs that had been sized using Conduit were having better install experiences, not just because of reduced callbacks, but because when the installers went out, they brought the right equipment the first time. And so in the middle of summer, that is super impactful because your installers end up being your bottleneck. It's often not your sales team. Well, depending on the company, it's often not the sales team because the sales guys will crank out as much as they can. The installers are truly limited by hours in the day. So when they started being able to shrink the number of hours an install took, that's where they started seeing huge gains. And so for us, that was a super interesting win for us where we started seeing that impact really play out for the enhanced efficiency of the entire team. And I think that is really cool because one of the things I'm sure, Chris, you've probably worked with hundreds and hundreds of businesses at this point where you go in and you interview the install manager and the installers and they're like, yeah, I hate the sales guys. They're the worst. They always sell the wrong thing. There's so much tension. And we've encountered that so many times. And to see that like relationship, to see that handoff really work smoothly, it's often not a cost that is measured, but is one that is really powerful to see an impact in the reality.
So Shelly just jumped right into it. She was like, "It's all about culture in your business and how Conduit connects." And you said this. I say this a lot in the business. It's when you get sales installed, it's the us and them mentality. That's kind of everybody always thinks that everybody's at odds. They're doing things intentionally to make your job hard or why you got to complain so much. But if I'm hearing you correctly, that Conduit is the conduit that connects the sales team to the install team, no pun intended there, if that's what I'm hearing you say. Maybe tell me a little bit about maybe one of your favorite customer success stories of a before and after of the impact.
Yes. And so that I shared a little bit about like that impact that it had on team culture or just team handoffs in general. I think another example is just thinking about like the sales side. And I love when our customers see huge amount of growth. My favorite type of growth, to be honest, is when like there's a win-win for everyone where our team sells more. And when they sell more, they're able to invest more in marketing. They're able to bring on additional team members and they're actually able to grow. We've seen this time and time again. And that's like so exciting for us because not only do we grow as a company, but they're growing too. And that's super motivating. But there was a team that is out in Colorado, and I was so excited. I didn't know this. I just was checking in on the user there and wanted to hear how his experience was. And he's like, Shelby, I have to tell you, I just broke a company record last month. And I was like, oh, no way. What did that look like? And he's like, I sold $600,000 of equipment in June. And he's like, I did a load calculation, a thoughtful design on every single one of them, but I broke a company record across dozens and dozens of folks who are selling in the field. And he's like, and that outperformed my best prior month before that, which was $450,000. And it's to see both that growth, but also for him to be like, yeah, the main driver of it is I went from converting at 30% of deals, and now I convert at 47%. So I'm making the most of every opportunity. He is not the cheapest in his market. I know that for a fact. And to be honest, most teams who are growing, and most teams who are doing a really high quality job are never going to be the cheapest in their market. And so to be able to win those opportunities by building value, showing the customer, not telling them, he's doing all the work. We're a tool to support that. But that's really exciting to me to see that we're supporting his process and supporting him delivering the right solution for his customers.
That's incredible. Think about this, and we're, Shelly, today, I don't want to debate whether or not HVAC contractors should be doing heat load calculations in their market. I don't want to debate that. If you're in a spot where you feel like you don't need to do that, you might just need to go do some checking up and realize how much money you're leaving on the table just by simply, and it goes back, Shelly, you see a lot of the old school contractors, and I know you can use a duculator and there's shortcut ways to do that. But when you're in a market where the Manual J is required, right? Massive amount of time saving. So let me just ask, if all of a sudden you're saying this, what would typically take me hour and a half to 2 hours possibly to do some of the measuring, you're saying, hey, Chris, you're going to save at least an hour and 45 minutes probably. What are you
Absolutely.
what are you finding that people are doing with the extra time? Are they running more calls? What's happening there with the extra time?
It's really cool because it's a huge range. So if somebody was spending their time measuring on site for an hour and a half, hour, 45 minutes, typically they weren't delivering a quote on site. They were not able to really build much value with the customer there. And so they were not running much of their process. They were often having to go back to the office, then potentially go out for a second call, often handle it from the office, which then was lower converting. So what we've typically seen is that people who get that hour and a half back, they're spending at least 30 minutes more or 45 minutes more with the customer, explaining what they did, walking through it with the customer. Even if they decide not to quote on site, which most folks will try and quote on site if they can, what they're doing is they're able to get that time back in a value added way with their customer. That's number one for everyone. And that's true regardless of whether they were spending 20 minutes on the load or whether they were spending an hour and a half just measuring. The
Mm.
second, and this is one of my favorite things to see, is when people are now more efficient, they can run more calls. We had a user in Massachusetts, and he is one of our earliest users. So he was on the platform, and this was his June of 2024 result. But he's like, Shelby, I increased my revenue by 30% this month relative to this time last year. And he's like, and the reason that this was the case was because I'm able to go to one more call a day. He's like, I used to not be able to quote on site, not be able to do my system design. And now what I don't have to do is go back to the office, work for 4 hours after I've run 2, 3 calls in a day. And now I get to actually spend those 4 hours on, in part, another call and then another 30 minutes on site with each of my customers. So obviously that type of impact matters the most in a busy season, but it also matters the rest of the year when that time is time you could spend with your family. And it's fun. We work with businesses of all sizes, but one of the teams that we work with is he's a fantastic owner operator. And for him, he's like, I get 2 hours back every other day that I get to spend with my family. And that's the reason he uses Conduit, because of what his process was before. He's not trying to grow rapidly, but he is trying to be more efficient with the time he uses working.
Yeah, and I want to say this as genuinely as I know how. This is one of the most legit products that I have seen that I believe can really make an impact, not only for your life as an owner, operator, manager, or even as a salesperson, but it impacts the sales process to the point to where it impacts the client. When I did this demo with Shelly and she was walking around her house, she was on her iPad. Like we got to see like real time what she was seeing while she's in. And we walk into the room, Shelly, and there, you probably won't remember this, but she was like, "Oh, there's a piece of furniture over here, but still, like it's still measured, right? So you're scanning the iPad and it's just scanning the room." And the other thing that I was blown away by as well, Shelly, is the I'm going to call it the brain for lack of a better word that's behind it. Once you enter the address, it picks up all the local weather center information, pulls that in, it pulls in property records, it pulls all, I mean, really what we're talking about is leveraging technology. That's really what we're talking about. And technology is not only saving time, but generating an additional revenue because now where maybe in the old days you decided, we're not going to do the manual J. I can size it. It's okay. No big deal. Shelly, just out of curiosity, do you find that because sometimes in the HVAC industry, we go and hire good salespeople and then we teach them the HVAC part. How have you found that in scenarios where maybe someone is not as technically competent, how do you find that Conduit's actually closing that gap because of all of the brain power behind the platform?
Absolutely. This has been this is like another thing that gets me really excited is we see so many folks every time when we go into a shop, what we find is that most of the salespeople have been there for a while, but as soon as they need to hire another person, that person is not coming from the industry. Sales is, in my experience, the first part of the company that can hire from outside of the industry if they can solve this problem about what do I actually quote and how do I quote the right solution. And that's where, for some of our larger teams, this is where we're seeing the most number of people come in from outside of the trade and really need the most help getting up to speed quickly. So for us, it helps bridge that gap. Our training process, we customize it to a team member who has a little bit less experience. And when we build out our product, we build it with the person with the least experience in mind. And the reason that's worked for us is because the people with the most experience need an intuitive platform as well. So if you build for the person who doesn't come with the most background in HVAC, everybody actually benefits, which is super interesting. The people who have a ton of experience are going to take advantage of more of the advanced features and functionalities, and they're going to be power users super rapidly. But the folks who are newer to the trade, they onboard the same way because it's built for them and really built in our experience for people who have experience selling, but don't necessarily have experience in HVAC.
Mm. And Shelly, we didn't talk about this, but kind of walk me through. Let's just say I'm an HVAC contractor and I decide, yep, hey, I'm convinced I definitely need to find this, or I need to explore. What is the process of what you're going to call the onboarding process? What does that look like for me as a contractor if I'm going to start integrating Conduit into my business?
Absolutely. It's something we're very passionate about. So for us, we know live training, live support is super important. And so what it starts with is somebody comes in, they buy Conduit, they can actually get onboarded next day. We introduced small training classes. So 1 to 2 contractors join into a training class. They're able, and that way they can get next day training. We have 2 onboarding sessions that are formal. And then thereafter, we have what we ask for every single team member is that we do a one-on-one. So their customer success manager does a one-on-one with that new team member so that they can understand that whatever questions are specific to an individual. What we know is everybody has a different learning style. We've seen probably dozens, if not hundreds of those learning styles at this point. And what we've realized is people, when it comes to sales, and Chris, you know this way better than I do, if you do not feel confident using something, either you're not going to use it or you're not going to feel comfortable doing it in front of the customer, which will hurt your sales conversion and your ticket sizes. So for us, we know we need to help our users build that confidence that they know what they're doing, and we're there to support. So we do something called job reviews because ultimately our platform is used on a given job. And we want to make sure people feel both comfortable with the inputs they put in and the outputs that they got out of that. And if you put the right inputs into any software, you're going to get the right outputs. That's how software is designed. But if you put the wrong inputs in, you're going to get the wrong outputs. So For us, that's a big piece of our process is we'll do as many job reviews as somebody wants. Sometimes that's three, sometimes that's one, sometimes that's, I think maybe 17 is like the leading number. But everybody is different and we want to make sure that we're there to support. So that's a big, like that is the hallmark of our onboarding process. We know the introduction to the app is the same for everyone. The diving into deep features is varies a little bit. And then each individual job, every home is a little bit different. How do you make sure you understand how to address it appropriately and feel confident in those results?
Shelly, quick question for you. As a contractor, maybe I'm kind of on the fence a little bit about where you're at. I kind of feel like, paper and pen and, how can we improve the process? But let's talk about a little bit about jurisdictions and what you guys have done to do the deep research to verify all the standards, by the way. Let's talk about this. What are all the standards that you guys have built into your platform? What standards do they meet? I know you and I talked about this, but I want our audience to hear a little bit more about the standards that are built behind Conduit. This is not just somebody decided to put together a measuring tool. Tell me a little bit
No.
more.
Not at all. And so of course, measurement is a piece of it. But what I will say is the number one standard we've built to is the ACCA Manual J. So written into officially into 29 building codes across the country is the requirement to, when you do a retrofit job, to size the system using ACCA Manual J. We are a certified platform under ACCA Manual J. And so what that means is people can use this for their permits for retrofit jobs or installs to make sure that they are checking all of those boxes. That is the key standard. We've built our airflow analysis off of ACCA's Manual G, and we've built our equipment selection guidance off of ACCA's Manual S. But ultimately, we didn't want to rewrite any of the principles of sizing and design because why would you if there is a certain way that we got to do that? So for us, what was really important is that we build to the specifications that folks need to get this passed through their permit departments and also have that confidence because that's ultimately, again, you have to believe that that system solution is going to be the right one, and it is going to be the right one if you size it correctly.
Yeah, so here's what it's 2025 right now, and when I think about technology in a home service business, there's so many options that are out there. It's almost can be overwhelming for a contractor of what technology makes the most sense for me and my team, and which ones should I do first, and which ones. And what I've heard from today from this vendor voice interview is number one, it does save time, and time is real money. Real dollars saved is time. I'm hearing customer experience is leveled up. So there's a certain amount of quantifying of that. Team members are more satisfied. Operationally, I'm hearing so much going on that this technology platform, not replacing people, but certainly up-leveling the experience for the customer, the technical parts better. So, Shelly, what do you say if I'm a contractor that's like, I don't really know if we're not doing manual J's today, so why would I even invest in this product? This is your home run right here. If I'm currently not even doing manual J's and airflows, I need you to convince me why I should be doing it. And then number two, what would you say to the person that maybe is already using some technology? Why would they even shift and consider moving to Conduit?
Yeah, absolutely. So why should they be using it? Well, you join 60% of the teams that we work with have never done a load calculation before. So what I will say is those 60%.
Quote that. 60% of the people that are currently using this product had never even done manual J's before. Now, I'm going to say this as a salesperson behind the scene. There's a certain amount of evidence that's proved with a manual J when someone does the hard work. But Shelly, you're saying, hey, no sense in spending an hour and a half, 2 hours anymore. We're going to save you all the time in the world. And so now your sales presentations are going to get better, right?
Exactly.
60%, that blows me away. 60% of your people that are users today were not even doing manual J. So I didn't mean to interrupt the thought process there, but man, that blew my mind.
Not at all. And that's the point, right? Is that what we found is this value proposition resonates because of course, folks who are listening in have not necessarily seen it yet, but what they're seeing and the reason that they're buying the platform for use in their business is a different customer engagement experience and one that's going to give them confidence they're doing the right thing for their customers and also show the customer that they are doing the right thing, which is ultimately a key element of building trust and building value. That is the number one reason people are going to be using it. And that's why people should be, is because if you want to deliver a great customer experience and then also get paid for it, and deliver the right quality of solutions, I think that's honestly what most people want to do in every case of the world. Conduit is a tool to help you do that. And then to your second question, why would they shift? I think if you are using something else, chances are your process is taking quite a bit longer than our average process, which is about 10 to 11 minutes. If it's taking less than 10 to 11 minutes, then you're probably missing out on opportunities to engage your customer. That's if it's taking shorter. If it's taking longer, that's where you have opportunity to save some of that time, but still get that value and that sort of customer excitement behind it because they're seeing what you're doing as you're doing it.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I listen, I get all jazzed up. I'm a technician at heart, and so when we get to talk about technical stuff, it gets me really jazzed up, especially when it starts to impact the customer experience and then the overall growth and profitability and satisfaction of the business. I mean, I listen, I'm just going to go on the record and say this. This is probably hands down one of the coolest products that I've seen that has enhanced the sales process, saving lots of time. But here's what I'm going to say. For those, Shelly, that are members of the Blue Collar Success Group, I'm going to share with them how they can connect with you. You're going to go to inside of the vault. Over on the left-hand side, you're going to notice that there is the Elite Buy. Click on that. You're going to go down. You're going to find Conduit. You're going to find Shelly's contact information of how you can reach out to her. What typically happens when someone reaches out to you, Shelly? What can they expect once they reach out?
Yeah, so there's if you reach us via email, we'll follow up and ask you a few questions and hope to schedule a call or a meeting with you just so we can understand what your business needs. Ultimately, and one thing I feel really strongly about is we don't want to sell you something that's not going to be a good fit for you. We'll let you know if we don't think it can be. But we're always going to want to learn a little bit about your business and then show you what the platform can do for your business. So either way, we're going to want to show you the product, which will be a Zoom meeting, to make sure that it could be a good fit for you. And it's that simple.
Mm. I feel like the demo sells itself. Like once I seen it, I was like, if I'm an HVAC contractor today, like there's no way I'm not using this product. Like this would be just the way we do things. For those that are not blue collar members, remember blue collar members, you do have privileges and benefits as a part of it. They come with that, all the information about what benefits and privileges that you get as a blue collar member with Conduit, going to be located inside the vault. For those that are not members of the Blue Collar Success Group, Shelly, what's the best way that they can reach out to Conduit?
Absolutely. So they can reach out to sales@getconduit.com as an email, or you can feel free to book a time directly on our website, which is getconduit.com.
Getconduit.com. You heard that? Book some time with Shelly and her team to get to know a little bit more about the product. This has been a blast. I was so excited when I got this one on my calendar to do, just because I'm, once again, technician at heart. I get all jazzed up about the techie stuff. And so this is going to conclude the vendor voice, but no vendor voice ever gets wrapped up with what we call drum roll, please. We're going to have the fun facts finale here with Shelby. And Shelby, I promise not to embarrass you, but this is my favorite part of the entire interview. I'm going to ask you just a couple of series of questions. You can respond to the best. I'll promise not to embarrass you. And this is where people are going to learn a little bit more about Shelly. Shelly, question for you. Is a hot dog a sandwich, yes or no?
No.
Absolutely not. Okay. Now, if you could have dinner with any fictional character, who would it be and why?
Oh my God. That one's really hard. Aha. I don't actually want to have dinner with Shrek, but that's the first name that came to me.
Okay, there you go. It's funny, Shelly, just the other day, actually this past weekend, my son was we were talking about graphic tees and clothes and stuff. He's not really a brand kid. He's not like, I got to have a branded clothes. Like, I just like a good graphic tee. He said, actually, Dad, there's this really cool t-shirt, and when you put the shirt on, it makes you look like Shrek. And I was like, I gave him that. He was like, I mean, Shrek is kind of cool, right? So I agree with you. Shelly, if you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Being able to teleport. I
Tell us
don't
more.
want to ever have to be on an airplane. It's horrible.
Another great conversation for another day and time. Me and my son was talking about this. He said, "Do you think that'll ever happen in our lifetime?" And I was like, "It's not physically possible." And he was like, "Go back to the days before we had cell phones. Did you think it'd be possible to talk to somebody in the middle of nowhere without a phone line?" So, my son always challenges my thinking. Question for you. Either your favorite book, your favorite song, or your favorite artist. Which one is it? And who is it?
Um, Favorite song, favorite book, or favorite artist? Um, Man, why are these questions so hard for me?
Oh, I
It's like my
know.
brain goes blank and I can only think of one thing. But all right, my favorite artist is NSYNC. I
Hey, boy band's in the house right here.
exactly said like a true 90s baby. We got to.
Gotcha. Okay, we're gonna start to wrap up. I got two more for you. What's the most random thing on your bucket list?
Ooh, most random thing on my bucket list. Okay, it's random, but I like love fast food fried chicken and they're like I need to do like a taste test of this is not a hard thing to achieve, but what's hard to achieve is having them like fresh at the exact same point. Like
Hmm,
traveled fast food is not good in my mind. So
agree.
there's like a corner on a street that's like an hour and a half away from me, but there's a corner that has like a Raising Cane's, a Chick-fil-A, a Dave's Hot Chicken, and then there's one other, like they're the four corners of the intersection. And I really want to do a like live taste test comparison of all the chicken tenders, but I want them to be like the same level of like piping hot so that they can be equally tested.
Well, you're talking to a Southern boy, and my great grandmother made the best fried chicken there ever was, and there's not been a replica since. However, I will say this, Shelly, if you do, they went out of business. I've not seen one, but from a fast food fried chicken, Mrs. Winters has everybody beat, and then from there, the original OG Church's chicken.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
have to find a
Not
corner
the
with
not
that.
the Texas Church's chicken, but the original OG Church's chicken. You'll find those probably for me is the best fried chicken ever. Okay, and I'm gonna wrap with this one. You ready? If you could live in any time period, past, present, or future, when would it be and why?
The present. I'm pretty happy here. But also on top of that, I think that having like the benefits of technology that we have to date has made the average life of anyone, no matter their relative income level, better. Because of the things that we're able to do. Like your average car is safer and better than it was 50 years ago, 60 years ago. And then the future, I think there's going to be some crazy stuff that happens. And I don't know what to expect. And why not continue enjoying what we enjoy today?
You heard it best from Shelly right here with Conduit. She said, there's no greater time like the present. That's kind of what I heard. So, Shelly, thank you so much. This has just been an absolute awesome opportunity to visit with you and with Conduit and how you guys are revolutionizing what's going on in the home service business, specifically around the sales process and operations for HVAC contractors. Shelly, any final thoughts before we depart today?
No, just thank you so much for having me, Chris.
Shelly, thank you so much. And for those that are watching, don't forget you'll find more vendor voices coming down the pipeline. We look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Y'all take care.
If you enjoyed that video, I want you to subscribe to this channel so we can serve you up more videos just like this from the Blue Collar Success Group. We look forward to seeing you in future videos.